Good job pronouncing my name, by the way. So I thought I had an hour, I have half an hour, so it's just going to be so fast. You guys are not going to understand anything. A few words about me to give you a little context. I do two things that are pretty cool. One, I run a data and analytics project at the Engineering Technology Center at USC, and the ETC is a think tank where Hollywood talks about technology. So we get around the table, and all the CTOs of all the studios, and it's pretty amazing. It's really, really high level. I created a project, and it's really, the aim of it is about helping studios solve their data and analytics challenges, which is really cool because there's a lot of interest in it, there's a huge need for it, there's a lot of money for it. It's a really good time to be doing what we're doing, and we're really focused on not just talking about data, but really building actual solutions and doing things that are very cutting edge and breakthrough for the entire industry. The second thing that I'm doing, which is as cool as the first thing, is I'm the CEO of an AI engineering firm called Neuroscience. We have about 45 people. We built large-scale AI platforms for enterprise customers, including DARPA, ARPA. We do hands-on robotics. If you saw that video of Sophia, the robot, talking about how she wants to eradicate the human race, we built that. And so, let's start with the end. Complexity. Right? So we're all here because everybody has the same problem everywhere, in every industry, in every single government. It's too complex. Right? You tap the shoulder of any CEO anywhere in the world and you ask them what their biggest problem is, they're going to give you this different version of the same answer. It's too complex out there. I don't understand my customers, I don't understand who my competitors are, I don't understand my business, I don't understand my employees, I don't understand my organization. I used to understand, I don't understand anything, please help me. So, complexity really is why data science is so hot right now. This is why AI is so hot right now. It's because a lot of people have seen the emergence of complexity in the marketplace, in a lot of marketplaces. Industries used to rise and fall in hundreds of years now, they rise and fall in 10, 20 years, right? Industries get disrupted by very small startups. People individually have a lot more impact now than they had before to create markets and disrupt industries. And so data has been called to try to answer that question because there's just a lot of data and a lot of complexity. So people said, hey, maybe we can apply the data to complexity. Obviously, it's a little bit more complicated than this. So this is interesting. So to face complexity, there are three developments that are extremely important and very, very disruptive. Number one is the ability to think about any problem as a system and not in silos. The entirety of knowledge, of human knowledge, since human civilization emerged, was based on looking at correlations between 3, 4, 5 different variables. Well, we have the ability now to look at extremely complex problems like cancer, or poverty, or economic development, or urbanization, with thousands of variables, with millions of variables. Because we think about it we think about things like cancer and poverty as a system, and not just as a very, very, very narrow map. And we can measure it across, and we can measure the influence of all the elements of the system because we have a lot more data, and we have AI. We have the machine learning and AI. We have the capability to really understand and process that data at a much deeper level than we used to. And that's really important. That is a revolution of human knowledge. And it's going to just, it's going to touch everywhere. Physics, medicine, business. We don't know anything. There's a theory out there called theory of bounded rationality, which says that as humans, we are limited in our understanding of the world and the universe by our sort of cognitive limitations, by the fact that we can't process more than a few variables at the same time, etc. Well, we're entering a world of unbounded reality. So, give you a quick example. Earlier this year, Google AlphaGo beat the best Go player in the world. This is something that everyone in the AI and data science world thought was decades away, and it happened this year. I think on the second game that AlphaGo played released at all, there's something called moves, this 37th move, was something that didn't make any sense to any of Lisa doll who was playing AlphaGo and to any of the Go players in the room. It didn't make any sense. It seemed to be really, really dumb and didn't make any sense on any level of what was understood the game was about. We're talking about a game that moved on the game, which means that the AI was able to access a space of reality, a space of the game that was completely out of any understanding by even the world's best Go players. So this is really, really important. Right? This isn't about rationality. This is a revolution in human knowledge. We're going to start understanding problems at a much deeper level. And so, we live in a world now where you don't really hear that very often, especially here. But we don't really know anything, right? But with this, we're going to start knowing really what causes cancer. And we're going to start knowing really what causes poverty. We're going to start knowing everything we can about economic development. And things will change very, very fast. So I advise the entertainment industry, and this is a really interesting industry because they have a lot of really, really big problems. Number one, they're a B2B industry, right? They don't have a lot of data about who they're making movies for. The data is with the theaters, it's with Amazon, Google, Netflix, and all these platforms. So I don't really know a lot about their audiences. There's a lot more complexity in the marketplace. You can see here there's as many demographic segments now in America as there are atoms in the universe. So this is a very, very complex audience that traditional segmentation techniques can't really explain. The demographic segmentation is broken because of demographics like age and gender and income don't really explain consumer behavior anymore. So we've tried to solve that. You'll see a little bit, I'll talk about it a little bit later. And one of the biggest issues is the supply of entertainment far outweighs the demand. There's still 24 hours in the day. Right? And in fact, the amount of time that we're spending entertaining ourselves is going down. The supply of entertainment, the supply of options for what you do to entertain yourself is exploding, as we all know. So big problems. Here's something that we work on that's also a challenge. So if you look at this, right? So if you have the same amount of time or less time, you have more options. What's going to happen? You're going to try to maximize that time. And how are you going to maximize that time? You're going to ask for something that is more experiential, right? And that's the story of the entertainment industry. The entertainment industry, and the story of media in general, every single medium was at some point a standalone product. And then as the technology evolved, as our need for entertainment evolved, that product became a feature at a higher level, more experiential product. So music didn't die because of Napster. Music died because it stopped being a standalone entertainment product. It became a feature in a higher level, more entertaining product, which is concerts. That's why people don't want to shell $12 to download an album, but they'll pay $400 to go to a Beyonce concert or Coachella. So if you look at this, every product becomes a feature in a high-level, more experiential product. Where do we land? We land into VR, virtual reality. So VR is the last entertainment product. There's not going to be another entertainment product beyond VR because you can't innovate past photorealistic virtual reality. So we spent a lot of time explaining that to the studios. It's really fun. We talked about segmentation. Well, at ETC, one of the things that we're doing, we're trying to find a way to segment people, not by demographics, because that doesn't really work anymore, but by the kind of stories that resonate with them positively or negatively, which is a really interesting layer, because we're all driven by story, right? Everything's a story. A car color is a story. Your outfit is a story, right? It's all stories. So being able to surface these stories is something that is of really big interest, and we think is a better way to segment people. This slide was before the last one. This is basically, if you're looking at experience maximization, and if you're looking at it from a decision theory standpoint, this explains why we have superhero movies and sequels, because if you have less time to entertain yourself, a lot more options, you really need a lot of information, a lot of reassurance. You need to de-risk the entertainment decision. What does that mean? That means you really need to know that whatever you're spending time, your investment is really well invested, that you need to be sure that what you're going to see is of high quality. So obviously, you have low cost, high reward viral video. A viral video is like 2-3 minutes, and then your friends are recommending it. So it's a really, it sort of de-risks the experience. And then all the way to, going to Disneyland or going to Coachella, which is a very, very high impact, and also the bar to de-risk it. The cost is high, so the bar to de-risk it is high too. Okay, so talk about story graphics. So story graphics is really interesting. So we went from the world of demographics, looking at people's, thinking of people's age, gender, ethnicity, and income, really predicted their behavior. And that was fine when there was just a very limited amount of brands and just 3 channels that you could pick from. And so whether you were male, female, your age, and your income was fairly predictive of your consumer behavior. It's no longer the case. Right? There's enormous variance within the same demographic segment in the things that people watch. There's things like sexual orientation, pop culture, affinities, things like that weigh in even more than their age. I mean, my daughter's in the audience. We watch the same shows, or we play the same video games. So demographics, we went from a world of demographics to a world where things like stories really play a much deeper role in people's decisions, especially in entertainment. And if you look at the political campaign, really if you look at, especially the primaries, like Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump are really story-driven. I mean, they're really very low on fact and very big draws. They have a very clear, very compelling story for a wide section of the population. So stories are really, really important. And what we're trying to do at ETC is we're trying to find a way to surface those stories. What are the stories that get people really, really interested in something? So we're building stuff. That's what ETC is for. We don't just talk about things. We're building really, really new things. This is the first time I'm showing this. This is a story graphics engine that essentially takes the output of social media analytics today and mines social media for very deep insights into what stories resonate with people. And it's really cool and way more intelligent than the stuff that's out there because it's a real AI approach to it. It's a real cognitive architecture with things like, we put a lot of thoughts in knowledge representation, for example, which is a huge part of AI, which not a lot of people think about. I mean, AI really is machine learning is a core part of it, but machine learning in and of itself is not AI, right? AI is a full cognitive architecture that includes machine learning, but also knowledge representation, decision rules, and a certain degree of autonomy. So this is a very, very autonomous system that will detect stories in social media, detect what stories are important and trending in social media from the conversation, and then pull content and automatically serve that content to the segments where this story is resonating. So this is really cool. A lot of brands are already looking at this and being very interested in working with us. One of the things that we're doing as part of this is we're looking at interestingness. It turns out there's a mathematical theory of why things are interesting, which is also why relationships fail and things like that. There's an ideal ratio for the brain between what's new and what's expected. If the situation, a character, person, a book, film is too expected, it's boring. If it's too new, it's too new and it's outside of our comfort zone. There's an ideal ratio of a story that resonates with us, that is known, and a certain amount of innovation and surprise in that story. Right? Look at Pixar. Every single Pixar movie is about the same thing. It's very deep themes and very intimate things about the human experience, but they're declined in a very innovative way. The classic is Inside Out. If you haven't seen that movie, you have to go see it. It's amazing. It really is interestingness at its best. So we're developing that as part of the platform and scoring how certain characters and stories and brands and movies are interesting or not interesting based on a quantitative measure of the themes that they have that are sort of stable and a certain amount of innovation in how these themes are presented. This is really cool. This is from, we didn't invent this, a guy named Jürgen Schmidhuber invented it, and if you're interested in digging through it, I'm happy to point you to that. Oh yeah, this is cool. So the platform that we're building, I'm assuming you guys have seen Stranger Things. It's a pretty cool show. So that font, one of my clients got the font from running the platform that I just talked about that surfaced. A very, very deep correlation between what the producers of the movie, of the series, had said in terms of the story of Stranger Things, the visual story around Stranger Things, and Stephen King. So the creative team, they found the relationship between that and Stephen King through this platform, and so they designed a font that was Stephen King-ish. So I'm really happy about this because like I'm a huge fan of the show, and so like it was really cool to learn that. And the font is like huge now; it's like a character in and of itself in the show. Right? So that font was created thanks to our work, which we're really excited about. So we spent a lot of time talking about what's new out there, new technologies that could be applied, and this is, I feel like I should really talk about this a little bit more because you guys are, I'm assuming a lot of you either are data scientists or interested in data science. So really understand that data science is going to change massively in the next few years because a lot of the things that you're learning today, in fact, most of the things that you're learning today are going to be automated or outsourced. I know because I'm the guy working to automate these things, and also a lot of the stuff abroad because data scientists here in the US are very, very expensive. AI is going to really, really revolutionize the way data scientists perform because there's going to be a lot more autonomy, and really, I very, very highly encourage you, if you're interested in having a career as a data scientist, to do two things. One, to really, really educate yourself about AI. And think in terms of what are the aspects of my training that can be autonomous, where a computer can do a lot of the stuff that I'm doing right. And certainly all the stuff that we hate as data scientists, like data cleaning, data munging, all this stuff will be automated. And the second thing, which will not be automated, is really having a deep understanding of business problems and the context in which the data is going to be used and the models are going to be used. Right? That aspect is critical. Really understanding AI is here, and it's going to disrupt more and more industries, more and more categories of jobs and things like that. And data scientists will feel that because there's a lot of things that data scientists are doing right now in terms of modeling that can be automated, and that are being automated. What cannot be automated is really understanding a business problem and trying to find a way to solve it with data. But that sort of high-level strategic work is not to be automated, and I really very highly encourage you guys to work in that direction because that's the skill that companies need the most today. They don't need data scientists per se. They need people who can really help them understand what data can and can't do for them, and how much value there is, and how much money they can make by applying. Thinking algorithmically about problems that have never been thought of algorithmically is the hardest thing in the world right now. And it's beyond data science. It's thinking algorithmically about problems that have never been thought of algorithmically. Poverty, economic development, strategy, HR, things like that. If you can think algorithmically about these linear problems, then you have a great future. So some of the things that we're doing that are really cool at ETC, we are mapping story arcs and story mechanics to box office returns. There's a company out there called Dramatica that has tags that can tag and helps writers write scripts. And I don't know if you know this, but certainly if you've watched the movies, you so probably have an insight about this. There's a formula in how you write a script in Hollywood. It's 3 acts. It's very, very set. And so what Dramatica does, it really helps. It's kind of a multiple choice questions software where you enter a couple of things that you want about your characters and your story, and then populates the rest, and populates all the beats in your story, like the journey of your character in Act 1 versus Act 2 versus Act 3, and sort of it really helps you structure that story that you want to tell. So Dramatica has a database of several hundred movies that they've tagged with this taxonomy of stories and characters. And so what we've done is we've mapped them to box office returns. And so you'll see that coming out in a couple months, but we've found very strong features in character journeys and story mechanics that by genre people are very, very interested in seeing that tend to generate more box office returns. So the second thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to apply things like agent-based modeling and reinforcement learning. I'm going to pass that because this is I mean, everybody knows, I'm assuming everybody knows about reinforcement learning. We're using also agent-based modeling, so we're creating simulations of individuals and trying to simulate their choices in annotating themselves based on some experience maximization and macroeconomic variables. I mean, we're throwing thousands of variables into it, and we're looking at how agents behave in that environment. It's really cool. Some studios are really, really interested in it. I'm not going to play the video because we're running out of time, but you guys can. I mean, I'm happy to give you I'll send you the deck or give you a reference for it. Oh, this is really cool. So neuroscience, it turns out, has never really been applied to understand stories and storytelling and entertainment and things like that. We're starting to see it today. This is an example of something really cool. If you can play the video, they have reconstructed. This is reconstructing. People watch a movie and they're in a functional MRI. And they're reconstructing the movie that they're seeing, the image that they're seeing based on their brain activity. Do you guys want to play this? Or? So neuroscience really will revolutionize the way we make entertainment, and the studios are really paying attention. Again, right, if you're doing if you're a psychology or psychiatry, if you're a psychology major, or if you're studying psychiatry in med school, you're sort of in the iron age of your domain, because neuroscience will just transform all of these. Psychology, psychiatry, 20 years from now will look radically different than it looks now, because we really don't understand the mind, and so understanding the mind will be extremely disruptive. And I think neuroscience will be a driver in all this stuff. Oh, this is very cool. This is they've mapped the brain with they've put people in fMRI machines and they've made them listen to podcasts, and they've been able to map certain words and concepts to certain areas of the brain, and so how it clustered is really, really interesting. I'm happy to give you some links about this study. It was really amazing. It's sort of a map of where each word and concept belongs to in the brain and what associated words and concepts are around it. This is awesome.
This is a map of someone's brain, showing roughly which areas respond when they hear different words. For example, there's a small area in the middle frontal gyrus that reliably responds to hearing the word top. But it's not just one word, one location. A single word can activate a whole range of different brain regions. So we find the word top in a bit of brain that seems to respond to words associated with clothing and appearances, but also here with numbers and measurements, and here with buildings and places. We usually think of language as being restricted to certain sections, like the temporal lobe. So researchers were surprised to find activity all across the brain and in both hemispheres. The map was made by scientists at the University of California, Berkeley. They put volunteers in an MRI scanner and had them listen to stories for 2 hours.
Back to the front again, deep, deep, and she pulls out a pack of matches that have been laundered at least once.
By monitoring blood flow to different parts of the brain, they worked out which places were responding to the meaning of the words, the semantics. They found that different bits of the brain responded to different kinds of words and concepts. And they could group them into rough categories, shown here by the different colours. Dark green bits, for example, were most activated by words to do with numbers, red bits by social words. Here, in the right temporoparietal junction, this speck of brain, just a few millimetres across, was found to respond to words like wife, mother, pregnant, and family. And this bit just next door responds to some of the same social words like family and wife, but also words to do with places and people like house and owner. Generally, the concepts represented in each brain region relate to other functions that scientists already know about. So words to do with how things look, such as stripes, are likely to be found near the visual cortex. And although each individual's map is different, looking at these three brains, it's clear that different people have the same kinds of concepts in the same kinds of places. This is the first time we've been able to map the semantic systems of the brain in such detail, discovering that words are grouped by meaning, and revealing just how complicated and widespread the word maps in our heads really are. And the brain map is available online for anyone to explore.
Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so this is the end of my talk. I wanted to conclude by, if you're looking at data in Hollywood, really, the title of that comes to mind is A Few Good Men, because we're dealing with an industry that's never really been thinking quantitatively, that is very happy the way things are, and even though the change is happening around them very, very fast, there really is a certain blindness to change in a lot of ways, and there are more and more people inside the studios that are really trying to change the culture and to really, really make better decisions. I mean, a studio like Warner Brothers spends $4 billion a year in marketing, okay? They're wasting about 30-40% in marketing that underperforms. They just don't know where. I mean, 40% of $4 billion is a huge amount of money, right? So this is an example of where organizations matter. Organizations are always the problem. You'll find that if you're a data scientist, your biggest enemy will be the organization. And certainly in Hollywood, you see a lot of effort by a few senior executives to really change the culture and make it more quantitative, make it better. Disney is the top company for data science today. I mean, what they're doing over there is unbelievable. And the reason they are so advanced is that Bob Iger, personally, the CEO of Disney, created that and is personally involved in Disney's data science strategy. So I'll take your questions. Thank you.
So you're free to go if you want to join our session.
I'm happy to talk about, how AI is going to transform data science. If you guys want to talk about that, this is a pretty big topic.
Yes,
You're next. No, there's never too many questions.
Thank you. Could you please tell more about how AI will transform the whole big data analytics, especially in entertainment industry?
Yeah, think about just if you're a data scientist and you're just anytime you're just repeating and applying the same set of rules, that's going to be automated, right? Any sort of rule-based task, any kind of data munching, data cleaning, that's the good news because nobody really likes to do it. That's just going to be automated for the most part, and it is being automated for the most part. I mean, Facebook is working on an AI to create a better AI. I mean, it's like you can't innovate past that, but it's pretty huge. So my advice to you guys, if you are contemplating a data science career or already in a data science career, think very, very hard about the kind of skills that are not going to be automated. Think very, very hard, read and document, get informed about AI. It really is going to be a massive, massive change in the way data science is performed. And a lot of the skills that seem important today will not be important very soon. And I don't know how well this institution is preparing you for that, but I, as a practitioner and a data scientist and someone who looks at AI for a living, I sell my products on the basis of the story for my clients is that this will replace 50% of your data science team. It doesn't mean that the future of data science as a career is bleak. It means that the skills, the critical skills are going to shift towards more strategic skills about really thinking algorithmically and having that capability to understand business problems, market dynamics, this domain-specific expertise that is not algorithmic, and really understand why thinking algorithmically about these problems makes sense and how to think about them. Now that's really going to be critical. The technical part, the programming part, the modeling part. The modeling part is important. The engineering part for me is less and less important because it's being commoditized. What is not being commoditized is really understanding the models and really understand the domain that these models are going to be applied in. So read up on AI. I'm happy to point you in the right direction. I'm happy to pursue this conversation offline and guide you through it if you want. But I'm building products that are replacing data scientists, and I'm killing it. So a lot of companies are really interested in taking that next step and really automating a lot of things that data science teams are doing today.
What are some of the roadblocks and obstacles that you currently face that you see in the future?
In what? In Hollywood?
No, in developing AI and your career in general.
The roadblocks that I'm facing, organizations. Organizations are the enemy. An organization will resist change in every possible way. And so understanding data in the process of organizations is huge. Like if I'm a data scientist with an MBA, so I have this technical capability, statistics, engineering, and also really thinking about organizations and strategy and markets and things like that. The biggest problem is, one, bad data or lack of data. It's not too much data anymore, but a lot of data is really bad or improper data. And organizations. Organizations will always stand in the way of change. Especially with AI, a lot of people, I find a lot of resistance in people whose jobs are at risk, right? A lot of the times I have to sort of reassure people that their jobs aren't going to disappear in a matter of months or years. I mean, AI is still a long way to be a completely autonomous inside enterprises, but it will come. And for any career and job that involves repetitive tasks, especially programming, will have a big impact. And so, anything that is based on relationships or a strategic capability to assess how data is going to be of value or not for a specific problem, whether it's in the government or in the private sector, whether it's poverty or getting more customers or finding out which products to develop next. That capability to really understand how data will bring value or not, and what kind of data, and what kind of models, and how. That strategic capability is going to be critical.
remark that you made about the devices that we are using and how the VR, beyond VR, we probably can't go. I just wanted to understand if you made one another argument that with the AI and advanced AI, how it is able to think beyond what we as a human can think. Is it possible that can be some another device, maybe one wild idea where we can develop something which can hook up to the brain and unconsciously we are consuming some media and we don't have time when we are conscious because we are doing a lot of other stuff. So what's the other reason other than like just simple logic that without like there are no more dimensions to go after we are?
Yeah, so in terms of experience, right? So if you're following that logic, that the time that we have to entertain ourselves is stable or declining, but there's a lot more entertainment out there, and we're really trying to maximize that time, right? In terms of experience. VR, how do you? I have trouble sort of understanding or imagining what would come after photorealistic VR. I mean, we may already be living in a simulation, it may just be a very, very sophisticated simulation. Brain implants. I was part of the founding team at Singularity University. If you don't know about it, I really encourage you to go online and check it out. Just watching those videos will blow your mind. It really is about how exponential technologies are going to change everything in the nature of humanity. And not just AI, but nanotech and biotech and medicine and all these new exponential technologies. There's a lot of talk in the Singularity University community about some modeling human consciousness and being able to download ourselves inside computers. It's called transhumanism. You should read up about it. It's pretty cool. It's a little nutty, but it's really awesome. Very highly encourage you guys to read Ray Kurzweil's The Singularity is Near. Very, very important book. Not the most fun book to read, but very important. Very, very important. Because everything that Ray wrote the book, I think, 15 or 20 years ago now. Everything that he predicted became true. And so, being able to really, I studied things like you guys, and I found very little value in the stuff that I studied. And granted, I wasn't in such a good university as you guys, but because nobody was looking around the corner, they were just looking behind and training you for the world of yesterday and not the world of tomorrow. So hopefully, this place is training you for the world of tomorrow. If not, it's your responsibility to train yourself for the world of tomorrow. So look at AI, look at the Singularity, look at Singularity technologies, and just think, just figure it out. What is the stuff that cannot be automated? What is the stuff that I'm doing that is very unique, very complex, very high level, very human, relationship based, or strategy based, or that AI can't do.
Thank you very much, and we're right on time, and we have a discussion room next to the section A room, so feel free to go there if you're still interested in talking.
Yeah, happy to answer your questions, of course.